My feeling is that we're living in truly extraordinary times. These are times when history is being made. They are terrifying times. They're also exhilarating. As Dickens said, these are the worst of times and the best of times, because we get to be part of what American theologian Thomas Berry said is the great work, is to carry out the transition from a period of human devastation of the earth to a period when humans would be present to the planet in a mutually beneficial manner. This is the opportunity, this is the calling that we all have, to move from a period of human devastation of this country of Western Australia to a period when we can be present to Western Australia and to each other in a mutually beneficial manner. Over the last decade, in co-founding Sustain with my partner and colleague Dr. Kelly Donati as a health promotion charity with a mission to reduce the burden of chronic disease, chronic dietary-related disease, through supporting the shift to a food system that prioritises human health and ecological integrity. And I think when we think about food system and food production, we need to be asking the basic question: what is it for? Surely it is for human flourishing and ecological flourishing, above all else. If we're going to be seriously engaged in changing systems, we cannot ignore the political process, right? There are some clear barriers and obstacles to moving forward at scale if we're really interested in a paradigm shift and a transformation. So our three core values, as you see there, and the three pillars in terms of intervening in the food system as a small health promotion charity with 7 FTE, a budget of less than $1 million a year, we are trying to work in the fields of systems change through research, through advocacy, through consultancy, through policy development, through network development, through placemaking, and that we want to be reaching a political inflection point where governments at local, state and federal level will really need to get behind this movement and to make the necessary changes in policy and regulation. So, obstacles to transformation, right? A big one, and Vic Health have identified this in their 10-year strategy, is what they call the commercial determinants of health, or the corporate determinants of health. They and we and people who are researching the political economy of food say that the food system nationally and globally is dominated by a small number of very powerful corporations who are extracting by far the bulk of the benefit that is generated by you, right, by farmers. The people who are benefiting most from that and deriving most of the profit are these small number of corporations. They are driving destructive patterns in terms of human health and ecological health. Research shows that if you go into a supermarket these days, the bulk of the food products that you'll find in there are not healthy. They are either ultra-processed or discretionary, way more than half. And those are the ones that are always on special. These are what is driving the burden of chronic disease in Australia, or a big part of it. In terms of banning marketing of fast food has actually been done, right? It has been done across the border in South Australia. After advocacy by the Cancer Council, the South Australian government took the plunge and has banned fast food advertising, junk food advertising on all forms of public transport in South Australia. Again, another very big win for those interested in healthy and sustainable food systems. So we ourselves did some advocacy in the lead up to the 2025 federal election this year. The Vote for Food campaign, we wanted to encourage candidates and people to get on board with this. A couple of weeks before the election date was actually do a bit of a media stunt, and what we did was did a grocery price comparison. We went to a locally owned greengrocer run by an Iranian migrant. We spent $100 there, largely on healthy, fresh produce. Took that shopping list, those same items, the same weights, and went round the corner to Woolworths. At Woolworths, we had to spend $125 for the same list of produce, and certain items were significantly more expensive. Bananas were 3.5 times more expensive at Woolworths. Quite remarkable, and we actually got somebody who's now in the federal cabinet to come down, it's the local member, Daniel Molino, to sign that Vote for Food pledge, right? So we've got someone in the Australian cabinet who's actually on board with that agenda. The Australian government is developing a national food security strategy. Right? It's called Feeding Australia. So notice there that they talk about productivity, right? And that is the main thrust. When you read that discussion paper, you'll see their main focus is about boosting economic growth and boosting productivity. Now, we often hear people, planet, profit, and you think, well, they're all equal, right? We can have our cake and eat it. We can have all three together. I would ask you the question, is that actually true, right? Because if you've got people and planet and profit, is it not the case in a market economy, and the name of that is capitalism, that profit will take precedence? In 1999 to 2000, Australian farmers had to produce 4 times the volume to earn in real terms just over half of what they had done in 1951. I would say this treadmill of production is unsustainable, and that we as Australian taxpayers are indeed subsidising a highly inefficient, if we think about the purpose of the food system being about the numbers of people who are fed well, who are flourishing, and the integrity of our soils and our waterways. If that is the metric that we're actually interested in, the food system is inefficient because it is not producing those outcomes. So as taxpayers, we are subsidising a highly inefficient and increasingly destructive food system whose major beneficiaries are powerful multinational corporations, right? That is the bottom line. We can change it by working together, right? So this is by supporting each other, and this by taking positive actions when and where we can, right? So this is what Vic Health, who I mentioned previously, have invested in, a $6.5 million investment over the next 3.5 years. Local partnerships of Food First, which are place-based initiatives bringing together over 60 different institutions, local government, state government, producers, food relief agencies and others, all working together. This is collective action. This is a collective impact project, a large collaboration involving dozens of organisations, thousands of people across Victoria, working together with a shared vision to expand access to affordable, good, nutritious food. That's what's happening in Victoria. There's no reason why it can't happen in this state. And just this year, Wales have created their community food strategy, committing all public institutions in wealth to source at least 50% of their produce from local farmers, right? These are the kinds of things that are happening around the country, around the world. There's no reason why you can't make them happen here in Western Australia. Thank you.